How many of you guys have walked into a room and you felt small? No matter what achievement you had, you felt unworthy to be in the room or inadequate according to the, when you're comparing yourself to the people that are across from you. And really the issue that you had was a value issue. You saw them, or all of them, either the person or the people you were comparing yourself to, as more valuable than you. Maybe you looked at how much money they made, you looked at what they had achieved, and you drew this contrast between where you're at and where they're at, and you made yourself small, and they were big. They had a lot of value and you didn't. Because that's what I want to talk to you guys about, your value today. All right, I want to help you not only see your own value, but help you build up that internal self-worth so that no matter what room you walk into, you can stand in that room, stand there confidently, and everybody feels your presence, and you feel calm, cool, and collected because you're unshakable, because you know your value. I heard one time that when David Goggins walks in a room, you could hear a pen drop because it gets so silent, because everybody senses, his value. And regardless of whether you think about Goggins, that was just an interesting, it was a great example, like when somebody has that type of value, it stops people, man. It stops people in their tracks. So how come, look, we're going to build up your value today. And the reason why I want to talk to you guys about this is because I was on the phone with a guy, a friend of mine. He's a friend of mine from years ago, over a decade ago, built a company, and both of us are on our own entrepreneurial track. And his company is getting into stores like Walmart. He has this produce company, and things are just not going so well for him. And maybe this is like happening in your life. Maybe things are or aren't going so well, right? And for him, a lot of his business stuff is not going so well right now. And we were talking on the phone, and he said, when things are going like this, when you have you're doing millions of dollars in transactions one day, and the next day you don't have any money. You start to wonder what the hell your value is. And that conversation really stuck with me. And it was like a couple weeks ago, and I realized that a lot of people attach their own value, a lot of you guys attach your own value to your money, to your achievement, to your identity. Who you think you are. Like maybe you're like me, where you're in uniform, you're quote unquote uniform, and your value is in your uniform. Or maybe you're that jacked guy that's blowing out of his t-shirt everywhere he goes, but when he speaks, he's soft-spoken, and he feels like an imposter. I met a guy like that a couple months ago. I'm like, this dude was jacked, but when I'm talking to him, I'm like, you would think he didn't have any value. So what is it that causes a person to not see their own value, man? And he had a couple of businesses too. So he had the muscles, plus he had the business, and he still didn't feel valuable. Can any of you guys relate to that? All right, so I have been in that spot before. I come from a small town, and when I came into the military, man, everybody was in charge of me, right? I was in the bottom 1% when I came in, and when I left, I was at the top 1%. But even along those ways, along the different chapters that I went through for my own transformation, I had waves of seeing my value, and I had misplaced value. I had misplaced where my value was. At first, when I climbed the ranks in the military, this is maybe you guys are making this mistake in your life. You're climbing certain ranks, a hierarchy, and you attach your worth to that hierarchy. You say, I'm only as good as the position I'm holding. That's where my value is, and if I don't have this job, if I don't have this responsibility, I'm not valuable. Well, that's a perception issue. That's how you perceive yourself. So what I have learned over the years is that self-investment creates self-worth. Personally, you guys can write that down. Self-investment creates self-worth. When you're trying to build up your own value, I think self-value comes from nothing you achieve. The value you have in yourself doesn't come from anything you achieve. It comes from keeping the promises that you're making to yourself. The person that doesn't keep the promises that they make to themselves has to find value in things outside of themselves. They attach their value to maybe like the Rolex or the car, you know, the career, or maybe they help everybody, and it's because service is the only thing that makes them feel valuable. It makes them feel needed. Now listen, I'm not saying any of those things is bad, but I'm saying, is that really your worth? What if you're in a situation like where you can't help people? What if you're in a situation where you can't buy anything? What if you're in a situation where you can't climb the ranks? What's your value when it's all stripped away from you? What do you see as your value when you have nothing? When it's just you? When you're in a room by yourself, what's your value? Would you think highly of yourself? Because I've been in that spot, you know. When I spent, I was like in prison, dude. It was like 2.5, 3 years where I was basically completely withdrawn from society, going through a really hard time in my life, and I didn't have anybody to like really relate to, and I was withdrawing myself. But the whole point that I'm trying to make here is that I wondered about my value during this 3-year time period alone. And today, I'll tell you guys, the thing that'll help you, that helped me over the years see my own value, is keeping those promises that I make to myself. Okay, you know, if you want, self-investment creates self-worth. Self-investment, investing into yourself. That doesn't mean just buying things for yourself, but a person who does invest in themselves does love themselves, right? Like they trust them, they bet on them. And you know somebody believes in their worth if they'll bet the house on themselves. You guys ever been in a situation where you put all your money on you? Because I've done that multiple times. It was the first time, it was scary as shit, dude. It's always scary because the money goes up or whatever the fuck, or the situation is different. And I mean, I put every penny on myself. And I was sweating bullets, man. But I told myself I would be the person that pulled it off. And I've done that multiple times because I saw my worth. I knew that I was more valuable than any real estate that I could buy, any stock that I could purchase. I knew that betting on me was going to be the thing that took me to the next level. And that's what I want for you guys, is to be able to believe in yourself and trust you more than anything else outside of you. But the only way you develop that type of self-worth is with self-investment. Now, self-investment, what does that mean? I won't make this video go too much longer, but I want to make it good for you guys. So self-investment for me has meant investing into things that make me more disciplined, make me respect myself when I look in the mirror. One that I'm going through right now that I'll share with you guys is, you know, my night eating. I've been going through a lot of ups and downs with my night eating. I eat, after I lay down, after about 90 minutes, I wake up and I have this reflex to eat. It started when I was in high school cutting weight for wrestling. And it just developed into I think it's probably a disorder or some shit, but I'm just not allowing myself to believe it, you know? But the whole point is that, you know, I have this identity that I'm chasing, which is the person that goes to sleep every night and they stop eating at sunset. You know, when the sun goes down, I'm done eating. And I was telling my wife about this. I'm like, it's a little challenge that I've set for myself. I'm like, I'm working towards it, give myself time to grow into it. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on myself for it, but I'm working on it. And I'm like, this is the type of thing where I'm gonna see myself differently once I complete it. It's just like my gallon of water. I've drank a gallon of water every day for like, I don't know what it's been, 3 years or something like that, 4 years, every day. And sick, COVID, no matter what, I was drinking that water. I threw up twice one time because I like drank it too late. I threw up. I was laying in bed. My stomach was just so like pushed out, and nobody checks on this at all. This is just a promise, a commitment that I've kept to myself. And I did a handshake deal with a friend, but even him, like, he doesn't even check on me. You know, he just knows that if I mess up, I'm probably gonna call him and I'm gonna tell him. And I just did a handshake deal with it, so I've never missed this gallon of water. There was one time when I first started, when I was traveling, one time, And I messed up my routine, and I told him, and he I paid the price. He rolls me out with a barbell if I miss. But ever since then, almost 4 years or whatever, I haven't missed. But it's these little type of like promises that really are self-investments. And for me, one of the biggest ones was dropping the drinking. Another one was just fabricating, dude, to be honest. Like, if you can control your tongue and you can speak in truths and not speak in exaggerations, that's another great way to invest in yourself. The world is full of people that will just lie. They'll just say whatever the hell. And it's actually, these people like for example, your haters, right? Like, a hater will watch your Instagram story and they'll be hating you, dude. They will fucking hate you. But then they'll watch you so close, and then when they're around you, they'll say something positive to you. And they won't engage on any of your stuff. But they'll be deep down inside fueling with anger. It'll be family member, it'll be friends, it'll be it could be business partners or clients, it could be any one of these people. But the key to not letting those type of situations get to you is like really seeing your own value and knowing that it does come down to seeing your own value. Because if you value you and somebody else is pissed off at you, you kind of let it go. You're just like, you see past it. So the thing that I wanted to give you guys is that your value, wherever you think your value is, I want you to take a look at it and ask yourself if that's really, if you didn't have that thing, where would you see your value? Because the value that you're gonna, like, the real value in yourself is in the steps that you take. I used to tell my guys when they went to military selection that when they were nervous about passing the military selection, I used to tell them, listen, bro, you are your effort, you're not the result. Who you are as a man, who you are as a leader, you are your effort, you are not the result. So measure your worth, measure your success off of your effort and how much you push yourself and how hard you give your all prior to going into selection, and let it all out, man. And if you can walk away from the train up and selection and walk away and know for a motherfucking fact that you gave it your all, that effort, that's who you are. That is your value. I don't give a shit if they give you the scroll or they give you the tab. Your effort is your value. Your effort, what you did, the steps that you walked. So guys, remember what I said. Self-investment creates self-worth. You are your effort, not the result. And the way that you build up self-worth is through keeping the promises that you make to yourself. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys. Hey, I'll see you guys in the next one. Conquer all.